My name is Therese Rowley. Thank you for joining me for Eclipsing Your Imagination podcast that is being presented just ahead of my Thursday webinar, Eclipsing Your Imagination, that will prepare you for the most powerful eclipse that we have had in 99 years on Monday, August 21st. You can find out more information at my website, thereserowley.com, under upcoming events. I look forward to seeing you there. Clients have been calling me for the last month, many of them who are typically very focused, feeling very uncertain, chaotic, up and down emotionally. And I am telling everyone that this is exactly the kind of energy that is supported by where the planets are at this point in time. So for those of you that are feeling that they have to get up in the middle of the night and start playing solitaire for hours, or watch Game of Thrones, or have some sugar or alcohol more than normal, more than you normally would, or have sort of an interest in this, I want to explain what this is about and how you can help yourself bring in more clarity for this time. So first of all, the transformation process is highly underway for all of us. The first part of the transformation process is denial, where everything is fine and really nothing will change, and we really don't believe anything's happening. And suddenly something comes into our reality that really shows us that things have to change. Maybe it's something we haven't looked at in a very long time, which this energy is promoting, something that's coming out from underneath us, inside of us, and we say, gee, I haven't done this in 20 years. I haven't looked at this in 5 years, and suddenly there it is. The second part of the transformation process is anger, resistance, and you come up with this piece and say, I don't want to deal with this. I already dealt with this. I'm sure I went to therapy for this. And here it is again. Or there's a new conflict that's really intense in your life and you can't believe it's in front of you. This is the part where you begin to stay up at night and start playing solitaire. By the time you're doing that, you're also moving into a phase called chaos, which is, how do I sort through all of my confusion to get to clarity again? And so we find ourselves going back and forth in these phases, but mostly here in this phase of chaos. What am I going to do to get clearer? First, I'd like you to practice self-compassion with this phase of transformation. We all go through it. And here's why. When we're in transformation, we are moving to a perspective that we have never had before in our lives. Our brain does not have reference for how to help us with that. If you have ever experienced or seen a 4-month-old get very fussy, and after being taken care of in every possible way with feeding and changing their diaper and holding them is still fussy, you may see one day when they suddenly sit up in their crib and then they stop being fussy, because their brain had to actually forge pathways in order for that child to know how to sit up, since it's a very new experience and skill. In the same way, when we move into greater consciousness, we have no reference point, and so our brain doesn't know how to move forward, but our unconscious mind knows that it's not going to help to move forward. And since we don't know what's next, sometimes we preoccupy ourselves with coping mechanisms during this waiting time. It's a bit like a woman in labor who's ready to have the baby, but the baby's not ready to come out. In addition, when we experience some frustration, we have to remember that sometimes this new birth is hard labor. And when a woman is giving birth, very few people go back and say, I really resent the way you talked to me when you were pushing that baby out. There's very few people that would accuse her of bad manners or bad language, because everyone in the room is focused on the end point of new life and on finally moving to that place, rather than on what it takes to get there, especially for this woman. So we also can treat ourselves with the same regard, where we do the best we can with where we are and attempt to stay with our feelings, and also to be compassionate, to say this is a hard labor process. One of the things you can do to cope with this or help this process along is to make sure that you're only processing your own feelings. In other words, if you're a person that's very empathic, what you want to do is ask all energies that are not yours, all feelings, go back to those to whom they belong with love, light, and affection, and bring back all your energy into present time, so that the only thing in your field is spirit and you, your human self, and that nobody else is allowed to interfere with this space or to invade it. When we do that, we can also ground ourselves with a cord from the base of our spine to the center of the planet, bringing that energy back from the center of the planet into our feet, legs, and thighs, and let it go back down to the center of the planet. And now what we've just done in the first exercise is to ground ourselves in present time so that the only thing we're experiencing is our own feelings. During these times, we will seek out situations that represent that part of ourselves. So, for example, you might feel that since a part of you is dying, you may be sensing someone else dying or someone's loved one dying. You may draw in people who are about to get a divorce or someone leaving someone, because a part of you is leaving you. And so you're drawing into your experience something that reflects that unconscious internal process. So recognize that and then separate those energies so you can be in your uniqueness. Because if you take the energy of someone else on, oh, I feel your feelings, because your feelings of this process are reflected in their feelings, you may well take on their feelings, and then it feels overwhelming to feel your feelings and it's hard to process them. However, if you release others' feelings, you may well find that staying with yourself in these difficult times or in these feelings that are not happy feelings might be a little bit of an easier task. The more that you stay with the feeling that you have, the more that you say hello to it, understand it as part of a process, and embrace it, typically the faster the process goes and the more quickly in time and space as we understand it, it ends. Because accepting what's in present time and staying with it with reverence, with respect, even if it's painful, is to understand that there's parts of you that are warning you. Don't go to this next new place. We don't know what that is. That's fearful. That's unknown. We may even have been spending our whole lives trying to keep ourselves from going there. And when you're going there, your body's going to talk to you and say, that's a bad idea. Your unconscious mind is going to create all kinds of things to tell you that's a bad idea. And then you'll fight with yourself and stay in this resistance and chaos process of the transformation process. So allowing those, this is that resistance. Oh, this is that chaos and uncertainty. Instead of being afraid of our process, let's know that we are in a process and embrace it. And that in turn helps us to feel emotionally safer, and that accelerates the process itself.